Hello. So, today we're going to be learning about chapter 1 of the Gender and Communications book. So, I'm just going to read over it and just, understand fully of what chapter 1 has to entail. And then maybe if we have time, go on to chapters 2 and 11 because the exam is going to cover chapters 1, 2, and 11. In the previous ASMR, I believe we read over the 2 essays, which was by Steinem and White. Those 2 authors wrote the differences between the the sexuality of being straight or being gay, the differences between that. And then I believe the other author talked about the sisterhood, how sisters are, in this, you just kind of like need to delve away from something like that. And, or at least like find reasons to believe such a case. I also changed my settings too. I moved around the room a little bit, so now the room it looks a lot more vibrant. You can clearly see outside as well. It looks very beautiful. And I can get some sunlight in too. So that way, it makes me healthy. I believe like getting sunlight is pretty important. It's a good source of vitamin D. And there's some other benefits, I'm sure. Probably like fixing a circadian rhythm, or at least maintaining them, and things like that. So, if we were to start, I'm gonna start the timer really quickly, because what I want to try this interesting experiment. I want to try to finish chapter 1 in 30 minutes, and then I'll move to 30 minutes of doing something else, and then 30 minutes of doing something else. So I have 3 exams. The first one is tomorrow, which is for my gender and communication. The second and third will be on Friday, which is my Western Civilization 2 and my Calculus 2 exams. So what I'm going to do is shift them around. So I'm going to do gender 30 minutes, Calc 2 30 minutes, and then Western Civilization 30 minutes. We'll see how that goes, and yeah. So I'm going to start the timer in 3, 2, 1, go. Alright, gender communication. The study of communication, gender, and culture. Had you attended college in the early to mid 1980s, you would not have found a textbook like this one. It's highly unlikely you could have found a course such as the one this book accompanies. Today, most colleges and universities offer courses on gender because there is now an impressive base of research to inform teaching. Research on gender comes from multiple fields, including anthropology, communication, history, neuroscience, philosophy, psychology, sociology, and women's studies. Scholars in these disciplines rely on a number of research methods. The first of which is a quantitative research method. I believe I have that in my notes. It's here somewhere. There we go. So, quantitative research methods gather and analyze data that can be quantified. 3 or more common quantitative methods are descriptive statistics, surveys, and experiments. Descriptive statistics describe the populations, the proportions, and frequencies. They answer questions such as, how often do women and men interrupt in conversations? How much do men and women in the same professional positions earn? Surveys, which may be written or oral, ask people to report their feelings, thoughts, and experiences. They ask women and men what they do with close friends, or what kind of online activities they prefer. Experiments are controlled studies that manipulate one thing, called an independent variable, to determine how it affects another thing, called a dependent variable. They test the impact of reading fashion magazines on women's self-esteem and how a particular teaching method affects boys' and girls' learning. Okay, so quantitative is more of it has to do with like statistics and data. Qualitative is what we're going to be reading next, which is called an interpretive method. It aims to understand meanings that cannot be quantified. So essentially, something that cannot be written down in a statistical data is what is qualitative. Two popular qualitative methods are textual analysis and ethnography. As the name implies, textual analysis improves or involves studying communication texts which may be written, oral, or nonverbal. Textual analysis have eliminated the meanings of speeches such as Declaration of Sentiments, which is given at the first Women's Rights Convention. Ethnography relies on extensive observation to discover what things mean to people. Okay, so ethnographic is the idea of what different ideas or things mean to people, which means like, for instance, what does this iPad mean to me? Well, this iPad has an importance meaning to me because it shows my reliance, I guess. I use this for taking notes, so I use it quite often. Or my laptop. I have my laptop with me and I use it very often because it is perfect for my coding classes. It helps me code, it helps me watch things, it helps me study. It's perfect. Very versatile. And it has a very long battery life too. So, moving on. Ethnographic studies has provided detailed descriptions of how gender is enacted in diverse cultures. Okay. And then ethnography from my notes it says it's based on the ethnicity and culture. Detailed descriptions of how gender is enacted in diverse cultures. So essentially, I believe how gender is, like what gender means to different people in each culture, essentially. Okay. So let me write that down actually. Pretty interesting. Okay, so what the genders mean to different cultures. Got it. Critical research methods identify and critique the means by which power relations are created or challenged. Power relations are created or challenged. For example, critical research has given us insight into ways in which organizational structures and practices create work environments that women and minorities perceive as unwelcoming. Okay. For example, critical research has given us insight into ways in which organizational practices create work environments that women and minorities. I see. So it's essentially a research in which they challenge different environments and structures that affect a particular group of people. Okay. And then finally there's the mixed research methods, which is exactly what the name implies. It's a combination of two or more methods described above. Oh, okay, that's pretty cool. So mixed research is simply just everything It's like one or two of those. Oh, sorry, combination of two or more, which makes sense. So, reasons to learn about communications, gender, and culture. Learning about communication, gender, and culture serves three important goals. First, you will gain increased appreciation of complex ways in which cultural values and practices shape understandings and expectations of masculinity and femininity and men and women. Second, you will become more aware of ways cultural expectations of gender are communicated to you. You will be more deeply you will more deeply understand your personal gender, both as it is now and as it might be if you were to remake it. You will be empowered to think critically about the extent to which you wish to identify with cultural prescriptions for gender. Okay. Third, studying communication, gender, and culture will strengthen your effectiveness as a communicator. Learning about gender differences in communication will enlarge your ability to appreciate and adapt to diverse communication styles. In addition, learning how your own communication does or does not conform to prevailing cultural prescriptions for gender allows you to take informed choices about how you want to communicate in the future. That makes sense. I can definitely see that. It's gonna, allow me to, I guess, it's gonna make me informed about how, different genders, like the different theories of gender, the different cultures and how they relate to gender, different communication styles. And this essentially goes hand in hand with our everyday lives. And our everyday lives will be dependent upon how knowledgeable we are in something like this subject. Okay. Okay. So that took me roughly 1 page to 10 minutes for 1 page. So I don't know if we're going to be fit to finish the entire chapter in a short amount of time, but we'll see. Gender in a transitional era. You probably don't subscribe to your grandparents' ideals of manhood and womanhood. You may believe that people of all sexes and genders should be able to pursue careers that both should be involved in homemaking and family life. You are probably not surprised when a woman knows how to change a tire or when a man cooks a good meal. Yet, if you're like most of your peers, there are also a number of gender issues about which you feel conflicted. For example, you may think that both parents should participate in child rearing, but assume that the mother, not the father, should be the primary caregiver during the early years of children's lives. You may support gender equality in the military, but remain uncomfortable with women serving in combat roles. You may believe in equal opportunity, but think that colleges and universities should be allowed to offer more scholarships to male athletes. That's an interesting take. But I can see why people would say something like this. You may believe that gender is fluid, but are unsure how to respond when your roommate identifies as trans. Now that I don't know how. I'm not really familiar with those terms, so I'm not entirely sure how that would make me confused. And I haven't been in that situation either. When we grapple with issues like these, we realize that our attitudes aren't always clear or wholly consistent. Many of us no longer accept all traditional values, yet we haven't become comfortable with alternative views and their implications for our identities and relationships. This makes our lives and our relationships interesting, unsettling, and occasionally frustrating. Differences between men and women. Are women and men really as different as psychologists proclaim? Certainly, there are some differences between the sexes, but there are also many similarities. In addition, there is a substantial variation within each sex as a result of experience, heredity, sexual orientation, gender identity, race, economic class, and other factors. So there's a story about Catherine. She states that I am really skeptical of books that describe women and men as opposite sexes. They focus on a few ways that most women and men are different. They totally ignore all the ways that women and men are alike, which makes sense. Like literally, like I think like every human in this world is like almost 100% alike. I think the difference is like 0.04% is what the differences between every single one of the humans are, right? And the difference is even less when it's compared to a male and a female. Like it's probably like 0.01%. That's like an insanely small difference. And yeah, that makes sense. Even worse is that they act like all women are the same and all men are the same. People are just individuals that you cannot sum them up as man or woman. I could definitely see that, yeah. Catherine's commentary is insightful. Terms such as woman and men are troublesome because they imply that all women can be grouped into one category and all men into another. When we say women's communication is more personal than men's, the statement is true of most, but not all. Women and men. Yet some women don't engage in much personal talk, and some men do. Many factors, including race, economic class, sexual identity, shape how individuals communicate, which makes perfect sense. Everyone's different, really. That's what the paragraph is trying to say. Now we come to the next term, which is essentialization. So it's almost like generalizing something. So I guess generalizing a specific group of people, such as males, or group of people such as women. So I think that's dangerous because you're stating that all men are, all men are like this, or all women are like this. Oh my god, all women are like, they act so weird, things like that. And then it's like all men are, oh my god, they act so weird, or it's like things like that is dangerous because it is not indicative of every single woman or men that you stereotype or generalize. So the term states that essentializing is reducing something or someone to a certain characteristics that are assumed to be central to its nature and present in every member of its group. That's perfect. That's the exact definition. When we essentialize sex, we mistakenly assume that all members of a sex share defining qualities. Essentializing ignores characteristics that differentiate individuals from one another. In this book, we will discuss generalizations about sexed and gendered identities, but this does not imply that there are essential qualities possessed by all members of a particular sex or gender. In these opening pages, we've used the words gender and sex several times, but we haven't yet identified them or defined them. The remainder of the chapter provides definitions of key concepts that inform this book. Wow, okay, interesting. Relationships among gender, culture, and communication. When asked to discuss a particular aspect of nature, John Muir, founder of the Sierra Club, I believe that's a drink brand or something, said that he could not discuss any single part of the natural world in isolation. He observed that each part is hitched to the universe, meaning that every part of nature is connected to all other parts. Likewise, gender, culture, and communication are hitched together. We cannot really understand any of these concepts without knowing about the others. Although many people use the terms gender and sex interchangeably, they have distinct meanings. Sex is more biological, I believe. It's either a female or a male. It's a designation based on the biology and assigned at birth. Okay, sex refers to the biology of the individual. Gender is far more complex. Gender is socially constructed and expressed, meaning that it is dynamic, I believe. It is changeable. It includes one's internal sense of self as a woman, man, or neither, which is gender identity. So gender identity states that I am a woman, I am a man, I am neither. So it expresses what type of gender you are. And the gender that you are is socially constructed and expressed. The external communication of one's gender identity through clothing, hairstyles, behavior, and voice, which is gender expression. Oh, that's interesting. So gender identity is stating, what type of gender I am. I am a male. But then you're not actually saying, you could be a female. You could be a female sex, but have a male gender, I believe. I think that's what it's trying to say. And then that male gender could have male expressions, such as being more masculine. You could be a female and have masculine traits, masculine gender expressions. I think that's what it's trying to say. As well as the cultural expectations assigned to one's sex, gender role. Wait, what? As well as. Okay, so gender role is stating, as well as the cultural expectations assigned to one's. Okay. So gender role is saying that, yes, I am. Your gender role is to become a male because of the culture that you are in. Things like that, I believe, is what the gender role is stating. For many people, sex and gender are consistent. Most children assigned male at birth eventually identify as men, and most assigned female eventually identify as women. For some, however, sex and gender do not deeply align. We'll now elaborate the meanings and complexities of sex and gender and discuss how each is related to culture and communication. Sex is a biological classification, blah blah blah, based on genitalia and the internal sex organs. Genitalia is determined by the chromosomes. Okay, so it's basically talking about the two sets of chromosomes for male, which is XY, and then for female, which are XX. But the sex is not as neatly binary as Western culture represents it to be. One challenge to binary sex categorizes its chromosomal variations. For every 500 individuals, one does not have XX or XY sex chromosomes. This means that of the approximately 300 million individuals in the United States today, roughly 600,000, which is, wow, okay, that's a lot, do not have an XX or an XY sex chromosome. They either have an XO, XXX, XXY, or XYY sex chromosomes. Interesting. Occasionally, some of an individual's cells have XY chromosomes, and some have XX chromosomes. Interesting. Because we have trillions. I believe we have trillions of cells, or maybe billions. I think. I don't know. But it is an astronomical number, and each individual cells. What they're arguing is that each individual cells could also technically sometimes have an XX chromosome and sometimes have an XY chromosome, which is very interesting. Another challenge to the traditional male-female dichotomy is intersex people. Intersex. Do I have that in the definition? I don't think I have that written down, which I don't believe is necessary, but we'll see. So, intersex people, the approximately 1% of the population that is born with biological characteristics of both sexes. Okay, that's interesting. For many years, infants who were born intersex were assigned one sex or the other, and they underwent normalizing surgery to make their genitals appear consistently male or female. This surgery, however, carries significant risk to the sexual pleasure and reproductive function, and many intersex people resented the surgery that was imposed on them. I believe that was at birth. They argued that the intersex is simply another sex category that is neither pathological, pathological nor in need of fixing. Let's see. Largely as a result of intersex activism, doctors and broader culture have reconsidered the assumption that everyone must fit into either the male or the female biological category. In 2013, Germany and Australia joined Nepal and New Zealand in adopting guidelines that allowed parents to choose more than two sex categories on birth certificates. I did not know that because I am from Nepal. I did not know that they did something like this. Very interesting. In 2013, Germany and Australia joined Nepal and New Zealand in essentially allowing them to have more than two sex certificates. So technically, I could be a male and female if my parents were like if they wanted to do that, and if I was born in anytime after 2013, I think. The United States has not yet recognized intersex as a distinct sex category. Oh, no, never mind. But the U.S. surgeons are increasingly reluctant to recommending normalizing surgery for intersex infants. The Intersex Society of North America opposes surgery, hormone treatments, or third sex category for intersex infants. They advocate instead for approximating sex within the current male-female binary at birth through various tests, and then supporting the children's natural gender exploration. So, allowing the children to choose essentially and develop their cognitive, so it's essentially developing their brain, allowing them to think, what do I want to be? What kind? Because I know biologically I am intersex, but do I want to be a male gender or a female gender or a neither, or things like that, and then considering surgery. It's pretty interesting. Still have 5 minutes before I have to switch. Okay. Sexual development is also influenced by hormones. When pregnancy proceeds routinely, fetuses with their Y chromosome are bathed in androgens that stimulate development of male sex organs. Whereas fetuses without a Y chromosome receive fewer androgens, and so female sex organs develop. Interesting. So does that mean that when we're inside our mother's belly, androgens are pumped throughout the body? So we're huddled in together, and then the androgens are kind of around us, I guess. And then is that why twins are essentially the same sex the entire time? I don't think there's a twin that maybe there's I don't know what those twins are called, but maybe they're born at a different time. I think those are the only ones that could be considered the different sexes. But I think all twins, or majority of the twins, are the same sex, which makes sense. That is very interesting. I've never thought about that. The opposite is also true. If a male fetus is deprived progesterone, standard male genitalia may not develop. The influence of hormones does not end at birth. They continue to affect our development by determining whether we menstruate, how much body hair we have, where it grows, how much fat and muscle tissues we develop, and so forth. Biological sex influences aspects of our development, but it does not govern the meaning that members of a culture assign to sex. This moves us into the discussion of the second concept, which is gender. Okay. Gender is the social meaning. Let me just check. Okay, I still have 3 minutes. Gender is the social meaning assigned to sex. Related to gender are the concepts of gender identity, which is an individual's perception, and subjective experiences of gender and gender expression, which is how one communicates gender to the outside world. Gender identity and gender expression are not innate. meaning that they are developed. They're not, like, you don't instinctively have these things. They also tend to be less stable and more fluid than sex. Most of us are born male or female, but we have to learn. We have to see, we have to learn to see ourselves as gendered and act in masculine and or female or feminine ways. I see, which is the gender expressions. Gender varies across cultures over time within a given culture, over the course of individuals' lifespans, and in relation to other genders. We'll elaborate these aspects of gender. Consider current meanings of masculinity and femininity in the United States. To be masculine is to be strong, ambitious, successful, rational, and emotionally controlled. Although these requirements are less rigid than they were in earlier eras, they remain largely intact. Those we regard as real men still do not cry in public and are successful and powerful in their professional and public lives. Femininity in our era is also relatively consistent with earlier views, although there is an increasing latitude in what is considered appropriate for women. Interesting. To be feminine is to be physically attractive, emotionally expressive, nurturing, concerned with people and relationships. Gender is learned. From infancy on, we are encouraged to embody the gender and society prescribes for us. Young girls are often cautioned, don't be selfish, share with others. Don't be bossy. They are praised for looking pretty, taking care of others, including dolls, and being nice. Young boys, in contrast, are more likely to be admonished. That's a new term, I've never heard that. Don't be a sissy, and don't cry. They are rewarded for strength, independence, and success, particularly in competitive arenas. Okay, so I think we can stop at chapter 22 because that is 30 minutes. Our 30 minutes is essentially up, which means I should get ready for my calculus. So my calculus, my calculus exam is based on chapters 5 and 7. So I'm going to start with 5.1. I would like to continue. I'm going to restart. Maybe I'll redo the quizzes first. I think I'll do the quizzes first because I'm able to understand how this actually works. So I have the quiz. So this is quiz 4. Quiz 4, I got a 16 out of 18. This is that. I need this. Interesting. This is quiz 3. Quiz 3. I think quiz 3 was collectively the worst for me because of the fact that I kind of messed up on one of those problems. Or not? Yeah. I got a 17 out of 21, so I missed 4 points. Is this my formula sheet? I think this is my other formula sheet. It's such a small formula sheet. This is my quiz 2, which is a perfect 18 out of 18. Very nice. Another cheat sheet. And then quiz 1. And then this is my algorithms and infrastructures. So, looking pretty good. I'm going to recreate quiz 1. So I'm going to try to do that really quickly. So, or as much as I can do. So quiz 1 to 4, review. because that'll be the good. It's a good indicator. Today's date is 2/14/24, and yeah, let's start. So the first question is, y is equal to the natural log of square root of 4 plus x squared over x. So how do I solve this? The first thing I can see is to break apart the two functions. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to set y is equal to ln of y plus x squared. And from what I can see, because there's a division, we need to subtract it to separate the two logarithms, natural logs. So now we get ln of square root of y plus x squared minus ln of x. We need to find the derivative, right? So I believe it's going to be y prime of y is equal to the ln of that, which is essentially y plus x squared to the 1/2, I believe, which means that we just simply put 1/2 on the outside, 1/2 on the outside, and then I don't know, something's going on with the sensitivity, but 1/2 on the outside, and then I think the derivative is, oh my goodness, I don't know why it's acting like this. Maybe if I flip it. So the bottom is going to be the square root of y plus x squared, but then the derivative is 1/2 square root of, well, it's going to keep the inside, which is x, y plus x squared, to the negative 1/2, and then the derivative of the inside, which is derivative of the inside is 2x, I believe. And then we're subtracting it by the ln of x, which in this case would be x over 1. And then now we need to multiply. Is that correct? That is not correct. I made it way more complicated than it need to be. Okay, so y is equal to, okay, so I did break it down before, so which is essentially square root of y plus x squared is simply 1/2 ln of, oh, that's a 4, not a y. I don't know why. Okay, so 1/2 of 4 plus x squared minus the ln of x, which means that it's going to be, now we need to do the derivative of the ln, which in this case is simply 1/2, and then the denominator is the original, which is 4 plus x squared, and the numerator is 2x. Okay, I need to fix something because for some reason my screen is activating without, I'm not sure why it's activating, like maybe something in my hand or something. Okay, now we do the ln of the x, which is simply 1 over x. So now this would turn into, so we can cancel the 2 outs, which would give us x over 4 plus x squared minus 1 over x. Is that the correct answer? Okay, yes. I kind of cheated for that, but that's okay. Number 2a. Is number 2a is the integral of x to the power 3 minus 3x squared plus 5 over x minus 3 dx, which means that if there is something like this, to find the integral of such a problem, we need to do the long division of such a problem. So long division is fairly simple. The outside is x minus 3, the inside is x to the power 3 minus 3x squared plus 5. The remainder should be a quotient or a constant. So x squared should be one of them. So we put x squared. So then x squared times x is x to the power 3 times negative 3 is minus 3x squared, which is perfect. So we subtract, and then we get a 5. So now we know that does that solve the integration? I think it is solving. It is solving the integration. Oh no, it's just simplifying it. So it's going to continue to be x squared plus 3. It's going to be x squared plus 5 over x minus 3, which means that once we integrate it, which is x to the power 3 over 3 plus the integration of 5 over x minus 3, which is simply 5 multiplied by x minus 3 to the negative 1. Oh my goodness, I don't know why. Okay. Got it. Okay, so then if we apply the integration of that, it would be so you would add 1 to it, I believe. So wow, the integration. Oh my goodness. Okay. So the integration is simply using the logarithmic function, which is simply the constant is on the outside 5 ln of x minus 3 plus c. Okay. Wow, that is not good. I can't believe I'm forgetting these things. It's like the most simplest of things, I believe. Okay, so 2b is the integral of secant x tangent of x over secant of x minus 1 dx. Okay, so from what I can see, I believe we need to do the u substitution for something like this. So u is going to be, I think u could be secant x tan x. I think it's u. So secant x tangent of x du is equal to the, what is the derivative of secant tangent x? I believe it's secant. Wow, okay, this is not good. Derivative of but I don't think I don't necessarily need to worry about that too much because we can include that into our formula sheet. But it's interesting. Secant. Okay. Oh, okay, I see. So if we use u substitution, we would make the denominator secant x minus 1. We should turn the du into secant x tangent of x dx, which means that by substituting something like this, we would effectively get 1 over u dx, which means that it is ln of u plus c which is ln of secant x minus 1 plus c. Is that true? It is. Perfect. Now let's go to we have, is that the last one? That's it. Okay, so then 1b is, that was, kind of skipped 1b, so let's do 1b really quickly. So 1b is y is equal to x times x minus 1 to 3 over 2 over square root of x plus 1. So how would I solve this? There is no logarithms, so I think we need to use the y prime over y over y prime rule, which simply states that okay, yeah. So y is equal to ln of x plus 3 over 2 ln of x minus 1 minus ln, or 1/2 ln of x plus 1, which the y prime over y is equal to 1 over x plus x minus 1, which is simply 1. So 3 over 2x minus 2 minus x plus 1, which is 2x plus 2 over 1. Now, to find the final y prime, we would combine the entirety of this, which is 1 over x plus 3 over 2x minus 2 minus 1 over 2x plus 2 plus 2 multiply. What is going on? Okay, when I'm writing these things down and I keep getting so many of these like weird weird marks. I don't necessarily understand why I'm getting that. I'm gonna clean my display and hopefully that changes something. I don't know if it will, but okay. And then where's my grab one of these. Okay, that was good. Hopefully it's been fully cleaned. And then we will try it again. Alright, let's try one more time. So 16 y prime is equal to 1 over x plus blah blah blah. And then we multiply that by the y, which is x multiplied by x minus 1 to the 3 over 2 over square root of x plus 1. Perfect. So, is that true? Yes, it is. Now we do the last couple of questions, which is 2c and 2d. So 2c is the integral of cotangent theta over 3 d of theta. So I believe what we can do for this one is simply cotangent of theta over 3. So we should be able to use the ln of cotangent of I see what I did, but I didn't get it right. So, which is interesting. I think I did something wrong. Integral of cotangent theta over 3. I think there's a specific derivative for the integral. Yeah, I don't know what I did here. And I don't know the solution too, so it's a little bit weird, a little bit iffy. I'm gonna skip over that. I'll come back to that later. Let's do 2D. So the integral is from 0 to 4, 5 over 3x plus 1. 3x plus 1 dx. Okay, so the integral of this is fairly simple, I believe. I think it's simply just, I think it's very simple. It's gonna be 5 ln of 3x plus 1 from 4 to 0, which means, yeah, I mean that should be the answer. I don't know, I kind of messed up on that. I only got 1 point for that because I overcomplicated it again. So, yeah. So I'm pretty sure that's the answer. Because if we look back to our previous one, should be fairly simple. Okay, I'm gonna put a star on this one and a star on this one just to make sure, because I didn't get a full points on it, so I want to make sure that I'm right. So the 5 ln of 3x plus 1, if we apply a 4 on it, it would simply be 5 ln of 4 times 3 is 12 plus 1 is 13. So 5 ln of 13 should be the answer. So that was quiz 1. How much time do I have left? I have approximately 10 minutes left. So I'll try to do a little bit more. I'll try to continue on with quiz number 2. That's cool. Okay, I should also use a cheat sheet just in case. So this is for quiz 1, I believe. Quiz 2. Log of u. Oh, these are nice. Okay, anyways, so I think this is matching things together. So the cheat sheet for this one is aligned with number 1 with this one, so I think let's go with quiz 2. Quiz 2. So the first problem is f of x is equal to, oh man, doing that thing again. F of x is equal to x over the square root of x squared plus 7. Got it. So f of x is equal to the square root of x squared plus 7. And then my cheat sheet is simply giving me, the different formulas and whatnot. So f of x is equal to x over x squared plus 7. Square root of x squared plus 7. I think we're just finding the derivative, right? I'm really confused. what in the world is this? So I said y is equal to x over square root of x over square root of x squared plus 7, and then it looks like I set that in terms of y. So now we switch. Oh, okay. This is like there's no like specific like do it in terms of this, do it in terms. It just simply has a problem, which I don't know what I'm trying to solve for, which makes it difficult because it's like I don't know exactly what I'm solving for. So y. So if we switch everything, right? So if we switch everything, which would mean that x is equal to y over square root of y squared plus 7, this means that we need to separate. Okay, I am very. Okay, so yeah, so we multiply the square root of y squared plus 7, multiply this on that side. Y is equal to x, multiply that by the square root of y squared plus 7. Now, we need to square everything in. So square. So y squared plus 7, multiply that by x squared is equal to y squared. So I think we're supposed to separate the x's and y's together. So if we multiply that, we will get x squared y squared plus 7x, which I don't think is what. Oh, actually, maybe we do need that, or maybe not. Because the idea is to single them out. So maybe we do need to multiply. Okay, yeah, I guess yeah. X squared y squared plus 7x squared is equal to y squared. So then how do we take that out, right? We subtract x squared y squared. So we're left with 7x squared is equal to y squared minus x squared y squared. And then 7x squared is equivalent to, or we set that equal to, we take out the y squared, which is going to be 1 minus x squared. And then we divide the 1 minus x squared, so y squared is now equal to 7x squared over 1 minus x squared. And then y is the entire square root of 7x squared over 1 minus x squared. And there we go. I wish I knew exactly what chapters these were on, but that's alright. Number 2 is, it has two parts. So the first one is secant of arcsine of 4 over 5, which is equal to 5 over 3. Oh crap! Whoops! I accidentally found the answer. Let me see. I have 4 minutes to complete this, so I should have time. Okay, so what do I think? So I need to make a triangle, right? We need to make a triangle, and then we know that the arcsine is 4 over 5. Which means that the arc is right here. It's going to be sine of 4 over 5. Right? The arc sine. Sine is, what is sine? Sine is opposite over the hypotenuse. So if that's the case, then 4 is 5. 4 over 5 is here. And then we know that the arcsine is 4 over 5, which means that the sine is sine is 4, cosine is 3, and the tangent is 5. Secant is what? Secant is 1 over cosine. So 1 over cosine is 1 over 3. No, cosine. No, 1 over cosine. Cosine is Um, adjacent over the hypotenuse. Cosine is adjacent over the hypotenuse. Really? Oh, because it's arc cosine. Okay, I think so. If that's true, then it's gonna be 1 over 3 over 5, right? Yeah. Which is essentially 5 over 3. Wow, that's confusing to say the least. So B is the cosecant of arc tangent of x over square root of 2. Which, let's see. So the triangle is right here. Oops, do I have enough time? I got 2 minutes, okay. Let me see if I can finish this in 2 minutes. And then switch over to Western civilization. So arctangent is x over square root of 2. So tangent is what? Sine over cosine. So sine is x, square root of 2 is cosine. Then the tangent is the square root of 2 squared plus x squared, which means that it's 2 plus x squared. Cosecant is 1 over sine, I believe. 1 over arc sine. So if that's the case, then it would be 1 over arc sine. Which is equal to 1 over arc sine, which is x over 2 plus x squared, which is basically 2 plus x squared over x, I believe. 2 plus x squared over x. Why is it a square root? Opposite over the hypotenuse. Alright, 1 over sine is equal to the opposite over the hypotenuse. Yeah, that makes sense. Opposite is x over the hypotenuse, which is that. A squared plus b squared is equal to c squared. Okay, got it. So I think we're done with that. Okay, I don't understand that, so I'm gonna put a question mark on this. So I'm not completely done, of course, but I should be fine. I'm gonna move on to the Western civilization. So let me go over. I do have the book for Western civilization, which is or at least not the book, but I know I have the study guide, I guess, for the first exam. It's gonna be Friday, February 23rd. Wait, February 23rd. Hold up. February 23rd? Because it says that today's the 14th. What? Okay, I'm a little bit confused. Okay, I'm gonna study anyways, but from what it says, it's gonna be next week, not this week. Who knows? I mean, it's better to study anyways. Okay, so let me write down like almost like an infographic on all of these things. So I'm gonna write down first. You know what? I'm gonna get a completed new book. So I'm gonna make a new one that says. Because there's a lot of information, and I don't want to get it mixed up with the other ones. So I'm gonna write Western. So exam 1 oh my god, like I'm like trying to write it, and it's not even functioning properly. Okay. Anyways, so going back to our first exam 1, there's going to be multiple different sections. Half of it is going to be multiple choice, which is going to be, or not necessarily a multiple choice, but it is objective, which is 1 point each. The other half is to write a 5-paragraph length answers, and you will have the opportunity to list from a target larger of the questions. Got it. So let me just get some information about all these people, and see if I know them, right? So exam 1, what I know for the persons. For persons. Okay, so for the persons sections, what if I write it like this? Whoa, it's kind of laggy. Yeah, I'm gonna unplug this. That feels way smoother. Could have been the battery charging. Okay, so for exam 1, I know that. Okay, so let's start with Louis the 14th. So what is some prominent things about Louis the 14th? I believe Louis the 14th is, well, he's a king. I think he was during the era of the I think Louis the 14th was the person that like started with all the fancy things, like started doing all the fancy things, such as like lifting up the paper, or not what am I saying? The fancy things such as like the invention of the knife, the fork, and like using utensils, things like that. I think he was also during the time of the Reign of Terror. I'm not entirely sure, but Reign of Terror, and I think that's all I know about him. Maybe if I remember something else, I'll bring that up, but for now, that's all I remember. Charles the First of England. So Charles I for England, I believe he had I think King Louis XIV also never called the Estates General. I think I can make a connection with that. Never called the Estates General. Charles I of England. Charles I is I feel like I know a lot of stuff, but at the same time I'm like kind of going blank on what it is that I know. I'm trying to think. Charles I. Okay. I believe Charles I is the why I don't know. I'm just gonna put a blank for now. Moving on to Catherine the Great. Oh God. I don't know anything about Catherine the Great either. Interesting. Okay. So if the exam is on the 23rd, I have roughly a week and a half, I think, to study for the exam, which is pretty good. 9 days from now. I guess I have, I have 9 days to study, which is not bad. So Catherine the Great, Gustav II Adolf, okay? Gustav II, and he's from Sweden. I don't know, I don't remember anything significant that he contributed. Gian Lorenzo Bernini. I don't know. Lorenzo Bernini. I don't understand. Okay. Nicholas Copernicus. Okay, there we go. I think this is someone that I know. Nicholas Copernicus. Perfect. Nicholas Copernicus. I believe he's the one that created he worked on inductive reasoning, I believe, which is going from a specific theory and then so going from a specific thing to a more general broad topic. How does that connect, right? So I think Nicholas Copernicus started the indicative reasoning. What else? Copernicus. When I think of Nicholas Copernicus, I think of stars. I think of heliocentric system. I don't know exactly if that's the case, but that is what I think of when I think of him. I'm just not sure exactly if that's true, but we shall see. Okay. Nicholas Copernicus. Hernan Cortes. Hernan Cortes. I do not remember what he did as well. Okay, I see a lot of gaps in what needs to be filled. So, Isaac Newton. So Isaac Newton is he's pretty prominent in physics. I believe he's the one that's created the fundamental rules of relativity. No, it's not relativity. Crap. There's a specific term about that. Laws of. Maybe it is laws of relativity. Relativity. Okay, I definitely need to go over this. Tycho Brahe. Okay, so I did review over Tycho Brahe. But do I remember? So if I were to think, Tycho Brahe is a Danish astronomer. He's also known for creating the geocentric system, I believe. And I believe the geocentric system states that the Earth is the center of the universe. So for its time, it was fairly advanced. Napoleon. Okay, Napoleon. He was from what I know, he was a fairly massive dictator. A very popular dictator. Popular dictator. What else? He was also, not only was he a popular dictator, he was also, I remember like, he won a lot of wars, which made him a very prominent general. So he used to be a general as well. And because he won so many wars, I believe he ended up getting the people's favor, which ended up enabling him to become such a prominent figure. They didn't end up killing him, and instead something happened where he was exiled into a specific island. Into an island. And then he was able to gain access to the people that supported him, and he started a new revolution, I believe. So he essentially escaped and got support of the people. Pretty sure it was like so bad to the point where like they just kind of gave up. Like they saw Napoleon, they liked the guy, so they just put their guns down and they're like, yep, just go ahead. If you're gonna start a revolution, I'm all for it, or things like that. Voltaire. I don't know about Voltaire. Don't necessarily remember Voltaire, so I'm gonna leave that blank. Galileo was, I believe, the astronomer that created the heliocentric system. Galileo. 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 So Galileo Galilei created the now known heliocentric system where the sun is the center of our solar system. And he also, I think he was the person that used this telescope to observe the stars, because back in the day, no one realized that you could use telescopes to observe the stars, because telescopes were primarily used to observe other people, like not like observe, like spy on other people essentially. So in wars, they would use those to, like, you know, almost like get a zoom in of other people. So used telescope to look at the star. I'm sure he created some other stuff, which I don't necessarily remember. Okay, so Robespierre. From what I remember, Robespierre was a statesman. He killed a lot of people, roughly 17,000 from what I remember. And how did he kill these 17,000 people? Well, it was from the guillotine. And I think he advocated for the Reign of Terror. He also died by the guillotine. Okay, so I do know a decent amount of Robespierre for some reason. Ptolemy. Ptolemy. How do I pronounce that? Let me see. Oh crap. Okay. Ptolemy is the creator of the geocentric. Okay. Ptolemy is the founder of. It's not Tycho Brahe. I think Ptolemy created geocentric system. I think that's the correct. Because from what I see, he's from 100 to 170 AD, which is a very long time ago, roughly 2,000 years ago. Yeah, that's interesting. Ptolemy, something like that. Okay, so we have two more sections, and we have roughly 8 minutes and 26 seconds. So not too bad. So looking at, we have Rembrandt van Rijn. Rembrandt van Rijn. I believe the the name Vaughn is from a noble descent. Ringe, something like that. Okay, Rembrandt von Rijn, which is simply, yeah. So it's going to be explaining how these things are quite interesting. So let's see. I don't remember. I don't really remember, but I do know that Vaughn is nobility. It's like a noble descent. Okay, so we have Johann Kepler. Okay, so the Kepler, I do know something about. Actually, maybe I don't, because I remember like I know he's an astronomer. But what kind of astronomer is he, right? Like, that's all I know about him. Cause I'm just kind of blanking. I might remember, but so that's I believe the only thing I remember. There's also Johann Sebastian Bach, which I don't know who that is either. Sebastian Bach. There's also George Frederick Handel. The E is cut off, so George, and just stops at G. Frederick Handel. Frederick Handel. I don't know anything about him either, unfortunately. Now there's another one named Johann Vermeer. Interesting. Johannes Vermeer. Interesting. Johannes Vermeer. Got it. Johannes Vermeer. Christopher Wren. I don't necessarily know who Christopher Wren is either, but we will find out in the future. Michelangelo Medici da Caravaggio. I don't know who that is either. Michelangelo. Wasn't he a sculptor? Almost like an artist. He created some of the most famous and intricate statues. But maybe he's not the right person. Maybe there's multiple Michelangelos. But there is a very famous Michelangelo. Thomas Jefferson. Okay, Thomas Jefferson. So, he signed. Well, I know he was part of the Declaration of Independence. Declaration of Independence. He also wasn't he a president? I'm pretty sure, or maybe he was one. Ah man, Thomas Jefferson. think he was a president, like maybe the third or fourth president. Okay, that's all I know. Maybe I'll remember some more stuff. But Thomas Pitt. I'm gonna get confused because the next person is William Pitt. One of those two people became the prime minister. I think it was William Pitt that became the prime minister, so I'm gonna put nothing for Thomas Pitt and move on to William Pitt. So William Pitt, I do know that he was a prime minister. What else? He was not only the prime minister, he was also the he was enacting the ruler's authority. Yes, enacting the ruler's authority. Got it. And then moving on, let's see. We have three more individuals. Dennis Ditchroyd. Okay, I don't know who that is. His name is Diderot. I don't necessarily know who that is, but we'll see. Benjamin Franklin, of course, he's on the bill. He's on the $5 bill. He was also on the Declaration of Independence. So I was gonna say DOI for Declaration of Independence. $5 bill, I think. Yeah, or maybe the $10 bill. And then, or maybe he's on the $20 bill. I think he's on the $20 bill. Okay. And then Adam Smith is the last person. So Adam Smith, I remember just talking about him. Adam Smith is the Adam Smith. I think he's related to. Oh yeah, he's related to laissez-faire. Okay. Laissez-faire. And he wanted a free market. Free market that is not controlled by the government. Got it. Perfect. So we finished identifying what I know. And from what it seems like, I have some information on some of the people, but a lot of them I do not have information. So it's gonna be good to go over that. So this is perfect. Oh, it's also boldface. Okay, so a lot of the terms to know is bold, and a lot of the persons is not bold. So I'll have to find personal information about those and how we can relate and tie them together. So that will be useful. And yeah, I think that's gonna be finished. That was a very good session. I learned a lot about, or essentially reviewing gender and communications, did some calculus, and got some Western civilization. I think this is very effective, or at least it feels effective because I'm learning 3 things at once. And just continuously, it may feel scattered, but I'm also forcing my brain to think because I'm forcing my brain to switch from topic to topic, which means that I need to adapt properly and evolve. it'll also force me to remember these things, because I know that like I'm not gonna be, you know, focusing on one thing forever. So if I'm gonna go back to it, I need to have that in my brain stored. So I think that's good for now. I think everything feels pretty good. So yeah. Alright. Thank you for watching. I'm going to end this ASMR, and you know, hopefully you are not awake right now. Alright.